Andy, what's your background and why did you start Yomdel? Talk to me.
My background has absolutely nothing to do with Yomdel. My background is actually as a journalist and a publisher.
It's obviously not in fashion.
I put this on especially for you, Chris. I thought you'd appreciate it.
It's beautiful.
I did say I could either cover it up completely or I could show it in all its glory. I thought the peacock feathers was...
There you go.
Anyway.
How do you work with them, Tim? There you go.
I struggle.
Your eyesight does. Anyway, come on, let's kick back.
I was a foreign correspondent. I was a journalist. I was a Reuters correspondent. I was in
Wow.
Asia for 10 years.
That was interesting.
It was fascinating. My last posting was actually Pakistan, where I was a bureau chief in Karachi when 9/11 happened.
Wow.
So the world came knocking at that point. Year and a half later, I quit. I came back to the UK, moved into publishing. And
Why is that?
why did I quit Reuters in Pakistan? Well, I had a wife and 2 young kids, and there were things like bombs going off, and it wasn't a particularly safe place. And I never saw them, so it was time to move on.
Okay.
And moved into publishing management for 10 years or so. And then in 2012, for some reason, I was always passionate about digital engagement, actually. Reuters was an electronic news service in the early days when I was working there. But of course, that moved on to become digital. So that whole idea of being able to communicate and share information via digital channels was always really interesting to me. And so Yomdel really came out of left field. I've got a bit of a track record of doing things like this. But this the idea really that, you know, when you go into a shop, someone was there to help you.
Yes.
But when you go online onto a website, you know, only a few years ago, it was equivalent of someone turning the lights off. You were groping around in the dark trying to find answers.
Because Yomdel is a live chat. So were you one of the first pioneers of live chat then?
Yes. So
When did Tim join you?
Tim joined very early on. So Tim was introduced to me after Yomdel wasn't trading at that point. I had the name. I created the name. I knew what I wanted to do. Tim was introduced to me as someone who could bring some credibility to the business process, if you like. I'm great with ideas, but I'm useless at process. And Tim's very good at process and has also been involved in fast growth businesses in the past.
Okay, so where did you get this idea for live chat?
I saw that in the States it was already happening, and I thought that's a really interesting idea. I looked at the UK market. There was nothing going on like that at all.
Nothing at all?
Nothing at all. And I registered Yomdel in 2012 originally, although, to be fair, the company only really took off in mid-2014 when we launched into the UK residential property sector.
Is that the first? Because you're not just a estate agency, are you? You're in many sectors, aren't you, using the live chat?
Yes, we are. We are.
Was the estate agency one of the first then?
For the proper launch in 2014, because prior to that we were too early to market. In those days there weren't smartphones.
Yeah.
It wasn't so. The chat as a channel had not been adopted. By 2014, it was beginning to be something that you saw with utilities and banks and these kinds of people. But there was nothing in the kind of the SME, sort of small and medium-sized enterprise sectors across any part of the country, apart from gaming, actually.
Okay.
Where they're just keen to get people to charge up their accounts when they've lost their money.
Same with the state agency then.
Exactly the same. Exactly the same.
So why did you choose the state agency as almost your first port of call for Yomdel, the live chat?
I saw that there was and I have no property background other than being a journalist and having reported on property-related subject matter from time to time, but I saw that there was a huge opportunity in the sense that estate agents got a pretty bad press, firstly, but more importantly, people maybe didn't really know what they had to do to sell a property or to buy a property. Okay. Estate agents know the whole process inside out. But I'd come back to the UK in 2002 and I bought my first house at that point. I didn't have a clue. 2.5 years later, I sold that house. I didn't have a clue. And I thought, well, okay, so if I'd had help, someone I could ask questions of.
You can pick the phone up, can't you?
I want to pick the phone. Let's speak to an estate agent. Why would want to do
9
that?
to 5 you can.
Yes.
Well, there is that.
But even then, I think we recognise that, if the live chat is going to come into especially the property sector, it's got to be of value. There's no point in just having a chat service that can tell you what you already know or just the basics. Okay. So the idea was always to have a premium product that is seen to be useful, helpful, but also from the business's point of view, it enables them.
So Yomdel isn't a bot then, is it? Is it?
No,
far from that.
Real people.
With emotion and intelligence.
Yeah. And it's not just real people. It's about the engagement strategy that's used.
Okay.
The structure of the communications.
Because you've been going for 5 years, what have you learnt from dealing with estate agents, and how have you adopted that into your live chat product?
I've found myself in a very unusual world in the sense that I can sit around a table with a load of estate agents and I know their language.
Okay.
And I have a lot of friends who are also estate agents now. And I guess Yomdel, myself and Tim, the reputation has been very hard won in the sense that we work really, really closely with these guys. So we have a high degree of credibility. But what we also have now are other businesses that are also offering live chat services. So our mission is actually different because it's changed.
Okay.
The average length of a good quality chat that we manage with our estate agency clients that results in, say, a well-qualified vendor lead is 12 to 14 minutes.
Wow.
That's a really long period of time. And that's with our guys responding within 15 seconds each time. The visitor on the other side is putting in whatever they want at their own pace. But that's the average length of an engagement. Now, if we're building other things into it beyond, so it's financial services or mortgage inquiries and that kind of stuff, that can extend to 18 minutes or so. I mean, a really, really long time. That's much, much longer than any of the other businesses that are doing what they purport to do. We are the pioneers of live chat in this country. We've continued to innovate, continued to drive things forward.
So what can the agent actually get from you guys, as opposed to just someone just being there at 2 a.m. to deal with drunken right-move inquiries?
Well, I think the
What worth do you give?
the primary worth is that firstly, when we're talking to people, they're feeling that, as I said earlier, they're getting useful answers. It's a value to them.
We're talking about the potential customer typing it in.
The web visitor typing it in, but also when we finish that engagement with them, very often they feel that they are already in the sales pipeline of that particular estate
Do they feel like
agency.
they're actually talking to the estate agent?
Yes, they do.
themselves?
They very often will ring up the following day when we've said that we'll return a call, and when we return the call, or the agent rather returns the call, very often they'll say, "Oh, is Daniel there?" Because they spoke with Daniel last night. So
Are they real people's names? Because I swear the photographs that you take of these people, they're like models.
We're very transparent about this. So I call it the Maurice Micklewhite effect.
Go on.
All right. So Michael Caine is Maurice Micklewhite. That's what he was. That's his name he was born with. But Michael Caine was always Maurice Micklewhite. Maurice Micklewhite was always Michael Caine. So all of our operators, they have an alter ego. They don't use their real names in chat, but it's always the same, tied to the same individual person.
Yes.
So if Daniel's not on shift, there will be no Daniel popping up as an operator. Additionally, we do use headshots that are not of the actual people, but it's actually all about creating a frictionless and barrierless point of entry for the
I think they call it an avatar, don't they?
Yes.
But
an avatar. Yeah.
they have.
But we
Very
don't
good.
want the customer, the visitor, to be questioning anything that they're doing at any point in time, other than just coming in, having a conversation, getting the information they need, and then importantly, our guys then guiding that person in a direction that's going to be useful to the client.
I mean, what sort of questions do you normally get asked on the live chat? And how can you convert that from does it have a big garden, to getting a free val lead or a mortgage appointment?
I think, as I was touching on earlier, you said, well, what else can the agent expect? When we're talking to somebody that is interested in a property, first of all, we've got a lot of techniques that we believe are fairly unique to Yomdel, so that we can train our operators to answer some of these questions. But also, in that engagement, they are following a strict process. So although the web visitor would feel that they're managing the conversation, we're ensuring that we can take people to the points that we need them to get to. So, for instance, once we've answered some questions on the actual property, it would be asking them what position they're in with their current property. And they may say, "Oh, I've had a valuation," and we may say, "Well, look, we would recommend you have at least two." And with some agents, we can there and then book a valuation with them. So when the estate agent themselves wakes up in the morning, they can see that at 10 o'clock they're going to see Mrs. Smith. They have the full transcript. So from that point, they're coming from a position of intelligence, and they can also turn up at the appointment because they know that Mrs. Smith has a budget of X. They know she's looking for a 2-bedroom flat in this area, so they can take along some properties as well.
Do you find a lot of people probably put a lot more information on the live chat than they might do over the phone?
Well, it's really, really interesting, this, because when someone's coming in to have a chat, they're not thinking they're giving anything away at all. And they're coming in and they're being anonymous. Now, from when I think about the key objections that I face when I speak to potential clients of ours, the first is, how do I know that I can trust you to represent my brand as well as I can represent it myself? And the second is, the one that I always say, you only have one opportunity to make a good first impression. And if people aren't walking across your threshold into your shop and they're not picking up the phone, this impression is going to happen online. So that initial engagement is so critically important in establishing the foundation for any future relationship, right? So, and then to move on to your question, say about a garden or something, the reality is that the majority of people, the vast majority of people, they ask very general, high-level questions. They are not asking if there's an outside tap. They're saying something like, I've seen a board, but I can't find the property online. So our guys, our operators are trained for them to be able to search to see if they, where's the property? Oh, it's on the corner of Church Lane. Well, okay, that narrows it down when we're working with a brand that has maybe 200 branches around the country.
Yes.
Let's say every single one of them may have a Church Lane. So then they've got to narrow it down further to identify the share, because
so your operator will go on Rightmove and try and look for it.
We'll go on the agent's website, we'll go on Rightmove, and wherever else we need to go. We'll use Google Maps. There's a whole load of different ways that they use to offer a genuine, enhanced customer service.
The sort of service that you would hope that an estate agent would give over the phone.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But the important point is, because Yomdel is seen as giving value to that web visitor, later on in the engagement, when we ask for details, we're not asking for details. I mean, there can be nothing more impersonal than you go onto a website and the first thing you're faced with is enter your name, enter your email address, and from that you're giving everything.
You didn't
and
need
you've
way
given
around.
me nothing.
Yeah.
So what we do is say, here's the value, here's some support, here's some intelligence,
Okay.
and at that point we need your details because you've asked us to return some property details or give a call or come back.
I think agents could learn that in real life, couldn't
Absolutely could, because it also applies the same in telephone handling, actually. And as you know, we also have a mystery shopping side to the business as well. And as part of
We're going to be talking about in another video.
which we will talk about. But the point there is we also have a lot of experience of telephoning estate agents, and we know how estate agents answer the telephone and what kind of questions they ask and how many of them are any good at asking for someone's name and whether someone's got a property to sell or whatever it may be. And actually, it's nowhere near the level that we have within chat, where our operators are trained every single time to go through every single possible process. So someone coming in who is a buyer, they say, I'm interested in the property, 23 Acacia Drive or whatever. And so our operator will help them with that. We'll identify it, find the property, book a viewing if we're able to do that in the back-end systems, which we do for an increasing number of our clients now, and take them all the way through. But at the end of that buyer engagement, then, oh, by the way, are you also selling the property? And if they are, we capture that.
Well, you've almost invested so much in the chat that far.
Yes,
So I think a lot of...
But you've developed that relationship on a personal level, and that
doesn't have to be over the phone. It's
no.
I mean, we send text all the time. It's
Yes,
kind of like texting each other, isn't it? Just on a website.
Yeah.
But it goes further than that as well. So let's take a scenario where someone who's a buyer comes in, but there's no property that suits their needs at that particular point in time. Let's also suggest that they have no property to sell. So at that point, that's a dead opportunity. There's nothing there for the brand other than perhaps to give a good experience. But hang on, there's a third tier here. So for an increasing number of our clients, we're working on the financial services. So have you arranged your finance for your purchase? Yes or no? No. Okay. So we're working on sending leads directly through to the mortgage provider. Good. On behalf of the brand. So that then converts the agent that's getting a passive revenue stream coming back for doing nothing at all with someone who they can't help in any other way.
Maybe we could expand on this in another video. Thank you, chaps.
Thank you.